Yo, what's up YouTube? Logan Johnson here. Today we have a tier list video for board breakers, and I'm actually going to be doing this video with,
Hey, Lucas Sacco.
and let's get right into ranking these board breakers for the upcoming Allen format.
Sounds good. Raigeki, what are we thinking?
The classic Raigeki. This card is not good. This card does not do enough in the current meta. This card has not done anything since cash format. Bulk card for sure.
Gotcha. I probably agree. Since Tenpai has been eradicated, it's time to move on. Forbidden Chalice.
Moving on. Yeah, Forbidden Chalice. This card is interesting. This card had its time in the sun. This is not its time. We're entering borderline tier 0 format. Board breakers are unplayable against Malice. If you play against that deck, they draw a million cards, put up Omni Negates, Infinite Follow Up. Is your opinion any different on this card?
No, it's bulk.
Yep, bulk. Let's look into some more bulk. Sphere mode. Once again, board breakers are not going to do exactly too well on this list right now. Malice is just adding infinite non-engine to their hand. This is never doing enough against that deck. Do you feel different on this either?
No, I think that's just about right. For enemy controller, though, this one's really unique because the card is really, really strong and very specific interactions, and for that, I'll put it in bulk.
This card's horrible.
It's awful. Yeah, really bad.
Yeah, trading 1-for-1 with breakers is just not going to work ever this format. Unfortunately, also bulk.
Yeah.
All right, Feather Duster. Maybe the first one that's not bulk. Actually, against Malice, if you pair this with a Chummy, it's actually pretty good. If you foo them or meows them, what they're often going to do is a red ransom, set the Malice in the mirror, and if you can just Duster that, it turns off both lines of interaction. And then also this is always just going to hit the rogue deck, so I would probably put this in the tier 2 category, but I'm open to move it up or down.
I think tier 2 is about the best spot for it. The problem is the board has an Omni Negate on it, so if they have a lot of disruptions in their back that they're really wanting to hold on to, they're just going to negate it. They don't have to use that negate very early at all, so it's not like it's going to be super impactful against them. But also, their board is very strong no matter what. If they have, back row. The deck also has a lot of hand traps in it, and so the Duster's just not going to be clearing everything.
Yeah, one thing that's important to know also is a lot of the better Malice players, when they get Fooed, they're just making, pretty much the entire board. And having, a Feather Duster in your hand really isn't going to accomplish anything against the full board.
Yep.
Moving on, we have Triple Tactics Talents. I'll let you start on this one.
I think Talents is a good card. The only issue that I have with Talents right now is that if you are playing Malice, what's making you pass your turn a lot of the times, it's a Lancia that's in the draw phase. It's a Chummy in the draw phase. It is an Impulse. It is an Imperm. There's a lot of different cards that stop your turn or kind of hinder you from playing. They don't directly play into Talents, and so for that reason, I don't think the card is as tier 1 as it was in the previous formats, just because of the non-engine that hits your deck right now. I still think it's a very good card. That's why it is limited, but it definitely is not tier 1 yet. Not in this format.
Yeah, oddly enough, this card got limited, and this is maybe the worst format for this card there ever has been, which is really strange. Like you said, too many Chummies, too many trap card hand traps in the format, and also the boards are just too powerful for this to do a lot going second. Moving on, Talents' partner here, we got Triple Tactics Thrust. This card is interesting because it's less of a board breaker as it is just a generically powerful go first card. In the Malice deck, I think this card is pretty good. Maybe not the best option, but one of the better options. You can set a Floodgate, Simul Archery, Gnomes, D-Barrier, Daruma Cannon, Blacko. All those cards are very strong. Add Talents to your hand to out Chaos Hunter. But going second, this card is pretty much just it's basically Triple Tactics Talent with a little bit of utility, which doesn't make the card that much better going second, but I think going first, this card is still fantastic.
Yeah, I pretty much agree. It just gives some diversity to it. The thing that's really good about this card is that you're only going to need non-engine in this current format because you're basically playing an FTK deck. All the decks are so powerful, the board is nearly unbreakable, right? So the only thing you're going to need is a Floodgate to counter them when they do stop you from playing, and they're going to stop you with hand traps. So Thrust kind of facilitates that idea, that theory there. That's the word. There we go, theory.
That is the word. It's a good one.
Thanks. I've been working on my words. So, but anyways, that's the theory behind it, is that Thrust kind of gets you what you need to whenever you do get stopped, as well as it has more utility into certain matchups. To be honest, I think that the only board breaker right now that I think is very, very powerful is thrust, just because of the versatility of it when it's going first as well.
Yeah, I think for the sake of the tier list, I think it's fair to put it at the top. If we're comparing it with just non-engine in general, it would probably be in a tier below. But for within this tier list, I think it is towards the top.
Yeah, absolutely.
Moving on, Old Reliable. This is Change of Heart. This is a card that you and I have both loved in the past formats, previous formats. But right now, this card is just, it's another one-for-one card that just will never, ever, ever do enough into the meta. I don't think there's a whole lot to say about it unless you have a different opinion on it.
Nope. You can't even like kill a detonator with it anymore. Like when you target detonator just does that little Bugs Bunny meme where he like explodes himself.
Throw it into your 1K box.
Okay.
All right, moving on. Dark Ruler no more. Potentially the most powerful board breaker ever printed. Although right now, with the way that Malice interacts, they have a lot of layered interruptions from their hand and trap cards, as well as just so many draws. Not a very good format for Dark Ruler. I think if you're playing Malice, I think it's like maybe reasonable to side. Like there's some consideration you could side into the Mitsurugi board. It's a detonator out, plus it could potentially out more. But surely there's just better go second cards than this. How do you feel about that?
Pretty similar. It's okay into the Malice board. I think that if you were siding one card specifically for just trying to cover all rogue decks, right? Like you were playing like more go first cards in your main deck, more bestials in your main deck, then that would leave you wanting to play a card that just has like a lot of value going second, and only going second. So I think Dark Ruler may come into play there, but besides that, I don't think this card will see very much play.
Yeah, I would put it in tier 3. Yeah, I would never side this card into Malice. I think it's like borderline playable against Mitsurugi Ryzel, and that's about it. Moving on, we'll go to the book cards. We'll go Book of Eclipse first, and I'll let you start on this one.
I think both these cards are not very good. I think that Eclipse has like less play than Moon right now in this format. So I would probably put Eclipse down here in like low 3s, maybe even bulk right now. I think Book of Moon's okay. It has some versatility. It's a good go first card. It does out Chaos Hunter if you're playing Malice, as well as it's an out to Detonator. The problem that occurs is that Book of Moon is like a 1-for-1 out with Detonator. So if they have a twins, it revives itself, right? So it doesn't even fully out the card on its own. I think that it is still fine to play because of its versatility. If they go normal summon Dormouse and you Book of Moon it, I mean, it takes like a very specific extender to keep playing from there. You need either for them to have hard drawn one of the traps, which most people are siding out TB11, go in second anyways, if they're even playing it. Some people decided to cut that card because they liked being wrong. So there's like very few extenders they can have there. It's either like a hard drawn trap or like hair with another name in hand or underground that they'd have to have, because it's really hard to get that Dormouse free once it's sleeping, once it's face down. So that's okay.
Yeah, I agree with you on Book of Eclipse. I think this card, like, Book of Eclipse is about as good as Dark Ruler against, like, Mitsurugi Ryzel, but it's completely unplayable against Malice going second. And going first is just, like, a strictly worse Book of Moon. I would be okay putting Book of Eclipse in bulk. I don't think there's a deck that would ever play this right now. Book of Moon is interesting. I think where we have it is a good spot. Book of Moon is just kind of a card that fills... Like, if you're looking for a card that fills a lot of roles, Book of Moon is one of those cards where it can go first, it can out Chaos Hunter, it can dodge Imperms, it can dodge Veilers. It can also be like a Solemn Strike type of card, while also having some utility going second. It's kind of like the Jack of all trades card, Master of none. So, like, if you need a card to fill a spot of a lot of different cards without playing all the other cards, this is a card that you could consider, but I think it is definitely, like, not the most powerful card in the meta right now. So if you're playing pure Ryzel, this card's probably still good enough to push through your Duo Drive, but aside from that, I probably wouldn't play it in most decks.
Yeah, I agree.
Moving along, we've got powerful board breaker here and evenly matched. I'll start with this one. It's going straight to the bulk. Yeah, this card has always just said activate this card and your opponent keeps the one card that beats you. I don't think this card has like ever been very good. There's like pockets of metas where sometimes this card is really good when people net, like, I think there was like a couple weeks in Snake Eye format where this card was kind of cool, but this is just like, I don't think this is a very good Yu-Gi-Oh card.
No, the main purpose of evenly was to try to balance the game so you could resolve your full combo. The problem is the engines nowadays are so powerful and they generate so much follow-up just inherently through their engine that when you evenly them, they're going to keep their strongest piece of interaction, which usually is going to trade with another 2 to 3 of your cards, right? Like they're going to keep a detonator, or they're going to detonator pop itself, then keep whatever second disruption they have because your detonator is going to come back. And like you're having to play through that, not to mention the follow up that their deck already gets. Another problem with Evenly is it's really easy to telegraph this card. Like you know exactly what's going to happen if your opponent looks at you and they go, attempt to enter battle phase," right? Freaking dork stuff, bro. They're gonna go battle phase. You flip up all your stuff. You get all your follow up. Who cares? They evenly you have a full board. You're gonna either negate this thing or do whatever. One thing I did want to mention as well is that even double evenly is not very good right now. If you double evenly the Malice board, what's gonna happen is that you're gonna activate evenly. They're gonna go chain allied. They're going to tribute off one of their Malice monsters. Then they're gonna chain the Lingaribo in their graveyard to tribute the allied to special it back. And then when you activate your second evenly, they're just gonna Lingaribo it. So even double evenly doesn't do anything. 0 things to the board, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. This card's just
the other
horrible.
problem with this card is in Modern Yu-Gi-Oh! That evenly does not pair well at all with any of the Charmy cards. The goal of Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now is to minimize your opponent's board, and evenly is a card where you want them to commit everything and then evenly them. So this card rarely works out, even in formats where like people consider it good. I've never thought this card was that great. Yeah. Moving on, Lightning Storm. I think we talked about Duster. It's basically the exact same thing as Duster. It has a couple of drawbacks if you're playing cards like Bestials and Nib and stuff. If you're not playing those cards, this is just like a better Duster. So I don't think we need to talk too much about it. You can put it either in front of Duster or behind Duster, wherever you like.
I did want to talk about this card for a second. I think that Lightning Storm is significantly better than Harpies. And the main reason is because, once again, the best deck is Malice. If you open Lightning Storm with any board breaker, being able to like activate Lightning Storm for monsters and have it consistently wipe out every monster they have is a really cool interaction, which makes it slightly better than Harpies. Most of the time, if you Lightning Storm all their monsters, they're going to come back because that deck is tier 0. But it is something to note, right? Especially if you play things like Inscription. If you go like Inscription, then you Slayer them, and then you Lightning Storm them, there's some cool interactions, cool things that could happen.
I will say one advantage that Duster has over some other cards is like in the Malice deck, you would draw a lot of cards in the middle of your turn, and drawing into Duster can be kind of nice, as well as just like Lightning Storm conflicting with Nib and Bestials in that deck. But realistically, you're probably never playing Duster or Lightning Storm in the Malice deck, so kind of an irrelevant discussion there. Mm-hmm. Moving on, the OG Board Breaker Kaiju can go in bulk, 1-for-1 trade, and gives your opponent a body. The card's awful. Moving on now, Forbidden Droplet. How do you feel about this card?
Just before this match or this video, Logan and I were playing on DB. The opponent activated Droplet, sent 2 cards. One of them was from hand. One was a quick play spell from the field. So they got value out of the Droplet. Like technically, that was a very value trade for the Droplet.
The Droplet was in response to an Act Code negate.
Yep, it was in response to an Act Code negate, which was going to stop their card that they activated from field. We then chained MTP, and then chained Firewall, and then chain Lingering but attribute the allied, and the chain resolved. Firewall added back an Ash Blossom and Nibiru from our graveyard. The Lingaribo summoned up, tributed the allied, so he couldn't negate it with Droplet. And then when we resolved MTP, we searched a hair and then banished our Cryptor so that it would summon back, and he negated literally nothing, wasted all of his cards, and still got his card negated. Yeah, this card's cool, but
this card's bad right now.
It's real bad right now, yeah.
This is like, it's almost worse than Chalice. It's Chalice with a discard. Like this card is not very good right now at all.
At all. Still think it's better than Chalice, but
yeah, I would be fine putting it in bulk, but I think tier 3 is like, there's a couple of decks that like this card, like if you're playing like some of the tier 3 decks like Crystron like this card, maybe some of the Fiendsmith like Live Twin decks, it might be okay in. But yeah, right now this is like one of the worst formats ever for Droplet in my opinion. Moving on, this is a new card out of Allen. I believe it's called Gordian Slicer. I don't know why it's not Guardian. Gordian. It sounds like a fake
Schneider.
card.
Gordian Schneider. It's a great card.
Yeah. Okay, so right now, so for people that don't know what this card does, it's basically going second. It can't be negated. It can't be responded to. You can banish 6 cards from your extra deck or 1 from your hand. And for every 6 or 1 from your hand, you get to bounce a card your opponent controls to the hand. Right now, this card is not very good, but I think in future tier lists, this card will actually be playable. There will be a meta for this card. And unfortunately, it does banish your card face down, like your own card, so you can't really utilize this with like the Malice strategy. So right now, I would put this probably like in the same category as Dark Ruler and Droplet, maybe behind them. If you're playing like a tier 10 deck like Fluanderies, this card's probably broken in Flu. This card might be playable in pure Fire King or maybe like pure Mitsurugi. But for the most
Gosh.
part, I think it's just a bulk secret rare, but it's something good to pick up in the future. How do you feel any different about this card?
I think there's a few other decks that can utilize this card. Like Kashtira is one of the few decks that I think.
Okay, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, like that deck's very good at going second. So having a boosted card for that deck that feels like it's kind of generated for that deck feels really good. But I would never take pure Kashtira to an event in the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, ever.
So yeah, ever.
All right, moving on. I'm gonna let Luke start on this one because it's one of his favorite cards right now.
I think the salesman is
Salesman.
like generally if you have to play one card in your side deck, right? And your main goal is to target one card. You want to get rid of a detonator. That's your goal with this side deck spot. You need something for Rizal when you're going second. You need to stop detonator. It's salesman. This card has no counterplay. The only thing they can do is activate Judgment or activate Dragon's Mind, right? They can counter trap this, but besides that, there is no counterplay. You activate salesman, they call detonator. If they go detonator and they blow itself up, right? They're gonna activate twins. They're gonna summon it back. It can't even activate to attach. You can't use anything about it, right? The best thing about it is that it doesn't just have to be detonator. They have a set card you can activate it called Imperm. What are they gonna do? They're not chaining the Imperm. You don't have anything. If they went for the Gallant Granite combo and they search Nib, you can look right at them, call salesman, call Nibiru with the Primal Beaming. They're gonna look at their hand and they go,
Uh-oh.
I don't got it, bro. Right? And then they're just not going to use it. They can't use it. So because of that, like you can use the information or use assumptions, use future sight to like really see what you would lose to, what you would get punished by, and use that to your advantage of what you're going to play around and what you're going to play into. I don't know. Really like this card.
Yeah, when I mentioned earlier that Book of Moon is like the jack of all trades card, it's just like good in a lot of situations, but not great in any situation. Salesman is like the complete opposite. It's really, really, really good at doing one specific thing, and that's beating Detonator. Which for the Malice deck, beating Detonator is very important. I think I would be willing to put this card in tier 1. In terms of just straight up go second outs to Detonator, there's not really a better option.
Yeah. The only other card that I see here that we did like forget to put on the list would be Metal Tronus. The only problems that I have with Metal Tronus right now is that it loses to Ash Blossom and Impulse, right? Those are two of the cards that are in every single Malice deck. And really, you're going to play against about 50% of Malice as you go to an event, right? So 50% of your opponents are going to have 6 cards in their deck that are going to trade with your non-engine. The card that's supposed to win you the game, that's just not good. A Salesman, however, doesn't fall into those problems.
Yeah. Moving on, we have Kurikara. This is one of my favorite cards, so I'll start on this one. I think it's better than Bulk. There's like some circumstances against the Malice deck where like they summon back a million guys and you can try to OTK them and just like try to Santoli them out of the game. There's like a million board breakers, but that strategy was like barely viable last format. I don't see it being viable this format, but if you're a Santoli believer and you want to just play infinite board breakers, this is definitely one that you would put in your deck. It's the only one that's actually going to help you kill your opponent.
Yeah. The only thing that I think is different about Kurikara is in a lot of the pure Rizal decks right now, they're starting to play Small World for consistency. So being able to use your like engine starter to search for Kurikara in the middle of a turn after they've committed a lot of resources and you know they can't put anything on, this may just be a game-ending card. That's the only thing that I think is like notably mention worthy for this card specifically.
Okay. And next up we have Ultimate Slayer. Depending when this video goes out, there might be some hidden goo on this card that we might go into later. But for right now, I think this card is probably towards like where the Talon's Book of Moon range is. It's hard to find a better board breaker against like Pure Rizal. It's okay against the Mitsurugi deck. I wouldn't say fantastic. Where this card might shine is against the Malice deck in some certain situations. How do you feel about this card going into Malice?
This card's really cool. You can activate this and send Boral Code. Boral Code is a very unique card because it has a graveyard effect as a link monster. We've been looking for one of those that we could use with Slayer for a very long time. And really the best thing we found was playing the Tri-Brigade big chicken guy that sends Garura. I don't even know his name. He's useless.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Bucephalus? Bufo Likma, something like that. Right. That guy he's okay. He gives you a draw. With Boral Code, the main interaction is that you can go Slayer, send itself, put back like a binder or their fireball, whatever their main threat is, and then you can go a graveyard effect of him. He basically banishes a link monster that has 3,000 or more attack from the field. That's a dark monster, and then it summons one from your extra deck. So being able to use that on the allied code, because it's going to have 3,300 attack because of its own effect, basically gives you like some more wiggle room, some more advantage to playing with this card. But I don't know. It still doesn't seem very good. It's very targeted at people who don't understand what's happening, and you don't really need that to beat people who don't understand what's going on. That's my thoughts with it. But I think the card is overall better than most of the cards beneath it.
Yeah. I think it has more upside than the other cards, and that's just more important. It also doesn't prevent you from killing like Dark Ruler does. Okay, and last card here, Super Polymerization. This is a card that's been heavily debated recently. For myself, I think in the like 3-week format that we just had, this card was pretty solid. Right now, it's definitely gotten worse. Discarding a card from your hand has the same problem as Chaos Hunter, where like you kind of just need all your cards to play into like half boards. Especially the way that Malice interacts, they trade up so well and have infinite grind game, infinite follow up. Discarding a card is really difficult. You need your cards to be extremely, extremely powerful. I do think Super Poly has the potential to be super powerful, but you're going to find yourself in a lot of game states where either your opponent full comboed you and you're sitting on just a Super Poly, it'll never do enough, or you like double hand trapped your opponent, they get to a half board, you Super Poly them, you discard another card, and now you're playing with like 1 to 2 cards, you're just going to lose to non-engine. This card is like specifically good when you chummy them, they make a half board, and you have Super Poly, which is like a lot has to go right in my opinion for this card to be decent.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this card specifically has some more unique interactions, especially into Malice. One major thing is in the mirror match, if you can somehow find room to put Super Poly in your deck, you can Super Poly for Deceive Worm. It's a very unique card that we have not summoned really in the meta, but we were sending it off of Terahertz because it's a good card. It has a good effect. It has an additional on-field effect that most people aren't aware of, where it says that during the main phase, you can just special summon a Cyburst monster from your hand, and then it becomes that monster's level. So being able to Super Poly, you can remove an allied code, you can remove a Firewall straight from the field, summon Deceive Worm. You can use Deceive Worm as a good extender, put like a Dormouse or a White Rabbit from your hand on the field, or even a Chessy Cat, right? Without having to really commit your normal summon at all. So it gives you more lines of play. And then because you summoned a level 3 monster, it's going to make a Deceive Worm a level 3. So before you even use your guy, you can link off Deceive Worm, go straight into a Lingerie Bow. It just applies so much pressure to the field. And then when you are able to eventually climb up to either an access code or a firewall or even your own allied, that Deceive Worm is still sitting in your graveyard. It is a spell trap negate just by banishing itself. So there's some cool interactions that you can definitely look forward to with this card. As well as there's like another fusion monster named Almarduk. You can make the Agnister guy. There's a lot of cool things that you can make with Super Poly in this format. The problem is that it doesn't clear enough, right? Even if you're removing 2 awesome things from the field and getting an extender with it, and possibly getting a spell trap negate, it's not enough to stop Malice right now, which is crazy. But this deck is just so powerful.
Yeah. And one last thing I do want to touch on. It looks like my minions took Metaltronus off the list. They ran away with it. So I guess this will be a bonus for people who actually stayed and watched the whole video and didn't skip to the end. Where would you rank Metaltronus, and how do you feel about that card?
If I had to rank Metaltronus, I'm not too sure exactly where I would put it. Like I said, it does have some major problems with it. Like it's good in very like niche situations. The problem is that the situations that it's good in, it can get countered so heavily. Like the situations I talked
Ash
about,
Blossom,
like,
yeah.
Ash Blossom, like
Impulse,
exactly.
Solemn Warning, which people are playing Warning now.
Yeah, even Dragon's Mind. Like before,
yep.
People were playing Strike in their deck, right? In the any like Rizio build, they were playing Strike. It was just like the most generic go first card. The problem with that is that you still lost to Metaltronus, but now they're playing Dragon's Mind. Dragon's Mind has just overall become the card that they've chosen to play instead. And the reason they're choosing to play that specifically is because it covers everything. There is not a single like card that does not cover.
Yeah, I think if we were ranking it, I would probably... Oh, we found it. It's here.
The minions brought it back. Thanks, Tristan.
Yeah, that, I think this card would probably go... It's definitely either ahead of Book of Moon or right behind Book of Moon, in my opinion. I think it's better than Super Poly. It's better than Slayer for what it's trying to do. I think we should probably move the Slayer over one next to the Super Poly. I think those two are more accurate together. If you're trying to find a card that... Like, if you're main decking a card, I think Tronus is better to main deck than Book of Moon, but I think if you're siding one, Book of Moon is probably a little bit better. It has less counterplay. But overall, I think a Solemn card or Sales Band would just be better than Tronus or Book of Moon overall. So I don't think it's worth playing right now, but I don't think the card is necessarily bad, which is probably the right tier. Tier 2 is the right spot for that card.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree.
But with that being said, that is our tier list. If you skip to the end, you know, it is what it is. But if you didn't, I appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate Lucas Sacco having me on his channel, and I will be on his channel. I think I'm already up by now. This video is probably coming out Monday or Tuesday. My video is probably up there. Go check that out if you haven't, and thanks for watching. Peace out.
Bye.